FBI. Quote, I became a special agent for the Federal Bureau of Investigation in 1951. I did not know, when I joined, that I would learn the expertise of burglary, or that former Director J. Edgar Hoover would instruct agents to violate extortion and kidnapping laws. I did not know then that the FBI would plot assassinations of American citizens and put innocent individuals in jail just because their skin is black or because they're Native Americans. Unquote. That's Wesley Swearington, author of the book FBI Secrets. The recent revelations about the incompetence and deceit of the FBI's crime lab got me thinking. Do some people still actually believe that the primary purpose of the FBI is to fight crime? Lots of people have said, for over 6 decades now, that the FBI's primary function is political repression. Those of us on the political left have known this all along, but some on the right have recently joined the bandwagon. The left has had trouble with the FBI because the FBI exists to protect privilege, class privilege. The right has recently drawn the FBI's attention, presumably because of their capacity for violence. The organized left has never had a real terrorist component, while the principal activity of the organized right-wing opposition is essentially militaristic. So, 2 very different sectors of society under assault from the FBI. That's not really a surprise. But these 2 sectors' purposes, methods, and goals are radically different. After all, the right wing wants to maintain and even extend property rights, a goal they share with Clinton's vital center. The left proposes elevating human rights above property rights. The right wing seems to think that we're still in the 18th century. They think Clinton is like a king, all-powerful, running a loyal bureaucracy which profits from his rule. This analysis is flawed on a number of levels, not least of which is the fact that no ruler in history has really ruled by his own hand. Rather, the people that run a country come from a similar background, what we call class position. They run the country in service of their collective interests. Under the kings, the ruling class was the landed nobility. After the bourgeois revolutions of the 18th century, the monarchies were overthrown by the new capitalist class. The capitalists used property rights as opposed to the divine right of kings to secure their position. The capitalists broke the nobility's stranglehold on wealth. The new ruling class amassed their fortunes through skimming the profits workers generate, rather than through the raw productive value of the land, as the nobility had done. The right wing today naively thinks it is engaged in a struggle to protect property. Property is already protected. It's people who aren't. Working people who think that protecting their pittance of property will protect them from the greed of the capitalist class with its enormous property holdings, wealth, and power are just deceiving themselves. The significance of property rights is that these rights are used to overcome the will of the majority, to overcome the pressures of democracy. It is democracy which is the real protection of the rights, the human rights, of the rest of us. The government doesn't work in service of its own interests. This is the fundamental mistake in the right-wing analysis. In fact, most of government is just working people doing what their bosses tell them they must do to keep their jobs. The government bosses, the elected officials, work to protect the interests of their class, the capitalist class, against the rest of us, against democracy. However, without the compromise the current government actually is, a compromise capitalists make with the rest of us, the ruling class would ride roughshod over all of us. Government is not the enemy because property is not the answer. Fairness and democracy demand that property rights be limited, be held accountable to the interests of the whole country, the whole people. To abdicate democracy is to roll over and accept the ruthlessness of the ruling class, and to accept their claim of the legitimacy of putting privilege over human rights. The brutal reality of what would transpire in a world where only property had rights should be familiar to us all, because right and left, by their own accounts, have both experienced it at the hands of the FBI. Those on the political right are fighting against themselves and against the rest of us. Victory will be found in the unity of the working class. Justice will finally come with the final victory of working people and democracy over the privileges of property and class position. Victory is just over the horizon now. We need only come together. Workers of the world, unite. we have nothing to lose but our chains. This is Richard Curtis.